Bro, Saija. Right. Okay. So let's start with Docker. Right. So we did the virtualization part, right? I mean, like with the help of Vagrant. So what was the major advantage that we are getting with the help of Vagrant? Machines, which is in your local infrastructure, right? So let's say, uh, what is one disadvantage which we saw there? Right. So basically, it is completely depend upon virtualization layer. If Yeah, so basically, if your virtualization layer fails, everything is at risk, right? I mean, like whatever the machines you have spinned up at this point of time, let's say your load balancers or anything you spinned up, you are at one certain point of risk. To avoid that, we are going for the Docker, right? So basically, what is Docker now? Let me go and virtualization fail is nothing but your virtual box is not working, isn't it? Now, what happens if your virtual box is not working? Right? Your machines are not going to work anyway, right? That's what basically your virtualization layer failed. I mean, like you're dependent on some third party layer in between, right? But whereas your Docker, it completely behaves differently. Yeah. So what it says, Docker. So basically, it is speaking about the portability, isn't it? So basically, it says build ship run in any app and anywhere. It is nothing but it indicates that it is having a good portability. So basically, develop your applications and run them anywhere you want, right? Irrespective of environment, that is what it says. So it might be something like your Linux, Unix based, Red Hat based Linux, Ubuntu based Linux, anything you take. Docker is cross platform, like Vagrant, isn't it? Now with the help of Vagrant, you are able to spin up multiple machines, isn't it? Something like Ubuntu, CentOS, anything you want, basically because we were using something like Ruby over there. In Docker also we got same similar concept where Docker works for both your Windows, Linux, Unix based any machine you want, right? Yes. No. What is build actually? Basically building an environment there, right? If you want environment, build environment, what are the tools required over there at that time? Something like operating system. On top of that, you need to install Git, something like Java, something like Maven. Now there are portable, I mean like already built environments for you. You can go and use them. That's what it says, right? Got it? So basically, when we are going for Docker, right, it can be used for your developers as well as SID admins anywhere. So developers can use it as well as your system admins. And you see, it runs distributed applications whether on your laptops or your virtual machines or any data center or on cloud. Anywhere you take, it is going to run this particular application. So all you need to do is like we need to go and install your Docker. That's all you need to do actually, right? And basically, the whole idea of Docker is containerization. So earlier we talked about virtualization, right? But here we are going to talk about containerization, right? Containerization. So what is the meaning of containerization? So generally, Linux has its container. So basically, containerization is not a new concept, really to speak. It came long back. Earlier, we used to have LPC, Linux containers. Sorry, LXC, Linux containers. They behave in the same way. So basically, Linux containers, what happened is like there was no particular service which can go and talk to those. I mean, like what you say, management become very hard when you are working with Linux containers. So basically, Docker came to overcome that. Actually, your containerization concept is there from long back when Linux was introduced, actually, in around like 2000, something like that, right? But basically, these Linux containers, there is no management for them. Now, let's say you want to create this container, how to destroy it. So there was no easy way to do that. That's where Docker kicked in. Docker, they gave this complete server. I mean, like they got their own API. We will install something called like Docker client and server. Your client will be talking through server via API, and you collect all the data of your containers. So simply here container means nothing but your virtual machine. Simply think like that. So what you are doing in your virtual machines actually? So why we are building actually virtual machines? To support other application, isn't it? Here also, basically you are building containers for supporting that application. So what are the advantages which you are getting when you are going with this? And so actually the Docker was released in 2013, I guess. So it was initial release was in 2013. This is like latest technology Docker. So it recently came into the picture, right? And one more thing is when you are working with your Docker, right? So if you compare it with your virtualization, right, you get some good advantages. One is advantages of Docker, right? One of the basic thing is reduce the size of dev environments. How it is going to reduce? Basically, with the help of small OS footprints or sizes, simply say. So basically, when you are working with your virtualization layer, right? So you are downloading the full operating system, isn't it? CentOS disk. But here you are not going to download the entire operating system, right? In your Docker, right? Your operating system is hardly around 200 MB. If you take something like, let's say, CentOS or Ubuntu, right? It is going to be hardly around something like 200 MB. And if you compare the same thing with your virtualization, what is it around? Very huge, right? Big operating systems. So if I take CentOS and Ubuntu, right, it was almost around 4 gigabytes in size, isn't it? Right? That's how it was your size, isn't it? But here 200 MB. So how it is going to do that? Basically, what it does means your operating system kernel will be there, right? Whenever you create the containers, right? Whenever you are creating containers, Docker will use basically the operating system of your host OS. So let's say your host operating system is currently Unix or Linux. Your Docker will take the kernel from there. I mean, like your Docker will go and sit with your kernel. Then it starts initiating the process of containerization. Right? Very important to understand. So that is how it does not require full operating system because it is already getting support from your host operating system. Right? But whereas it was not available in that particular virtualization environment, something like Vagrant, right? And apart from this, right, actually Docker is somewhat confusing concept until and unless we get into the practical part. Theory is somewhat bit confusing actually. Why? Because you need to make comparison directly with your virtualization layer most of the times, right? And one more thing is like you can deploy your Docker, right, containers anywhere you want. Anywhere, like I told you, right, it can be something like virtual machines, cloud, physical VMs, anywhere you want, right? And your Docker containers are very lightweight, are very lightweight. So basically, what is the meaning of lightweight? I told you, right? My operating systems are very, minimum amount size. That's the reason why your containers are also very easy to ship. Right now, basically, you need to understand here. If you remember, right, we were calling. If you take Amazon, right, we are calling images, right? In the same thing, like in Google Cloud, we are calling instances. In virtualization, I mean, like in the Vagrant, we are calling boxes. In Docker also we call them images. You have predefined set of images with you. You download those images and you start working on them. right? So similarly, like let's say we got like CentOS image, right? Ubuntu image. Similarly, we are also going to have different images in your Docker, and your images are built on something called like an Alpine operating system. Anytime heard Alpine? No. Alpine is also a Linux kind of operating system, which is just like some 15 MB or 5 MB 15 MB operating system. You'll get an operating system in 15 MB. Very, very lightweight Alpine operating system. Docker, that's why most of your images are built on Alpine operating system. Right? So best practice is whenever you are using, right, keeping your image size to a minimum size is good approach because it is very easy to deploy through internet. Right? So I will make a small comparison, then you might understand what I am trying to talk about. Hmm, let me take this diagram. Can you tell me like how your virtualization layer was working actually? First, what you had? Yeah, okay, you got hardware. On top of hardware, what you had? Yep, you got your host operating system. Right? On top of host operating system, right? You got your virtualization layer. Right? On top of it, right? Let's say your guest VMs, right? Your guest machines. This is how your virtualization worked actually, your Vagrant, right? You had this kind of configuration. So you were having something like your hardware, right? Followed by your host operating system, followed by your virtual box. Then you had your guest VMs, right? So this is how you built your Vagrant. Now how Docker looks, that is also very important, right? So how Docker is going to work in the same analogy, right? So what are you going to have? First, anyway, you are going to have your hardware, right? This is very important. On top of it, you are going to have your host operating system, all right? But you are not going to have any virtualization layer here. You are directly going to have your machines, right? So how it goes is, let's say you got your hardware. Here what you have is host operating system plus your Docker service. So your Docker is going to sit along with your operating system. So why it is doing like that? Because it does not want to depend on third party. Until and unless your host operating system is down, your Docker is still working. That is the concept. So why basically Docker they implemented with your Linux and Unix based kind of machines? Because they are very stable. They don't crash very easily, right? That's the reason why they went and they implemented with the help of Linux kind of operating systems. And on top of this, you are going to have your machines, right? So we generally call them containers. So let's say container one, right? Let's imagine this is container one. Then let's imagine this is your container three, right? And here containers are nothing but basically they are going to have only the libraries and the application which you have. So if I go and let's say I'll google it up for you, so you have like better videos to see there. So let's say VM versus container. So if I go for images, do I have anything? Right. Right. So see, this is how you maintain, right? You're having your infrastructure, right? Your hardware. On top of that, you're having host operating system. Hypervisor is nothing but your what do you say? Virtual box here. Then you created your application. I mean, like your operating system. On top of that, you have your binaries and application, isn't it? This was the model which we did earlier. Now you see what was the part that is missing here? There is no, and there are no guest operating systems. Why we avoided this? Because these are very huge in size, isn't it? Right? And if your hypervisor fails, what happens? These three would be gone, isn't it? That's why they come up with your Docker. So what Docker is doing? It is basically giving you a Docker engine, right? This actually communicates with your operating system kernel, right? And it only specifically focuses on your application and their binaries, right? Now I'll tell you simple scenario. Let's tell me you need Nginx server, right? You need an Nginx server or Apache server to host one of your websites. How you will do the approach? What is the approach for that? Okay, tell me from the beginning, from the scratch. Okay, first you will install an operating system. You will install the Nginx. Yep, you will configure it and you will place your application data. That's 4 steps. And what is the what do you say? The step which requires lot of memory processing everything. What is that step? Your first step, right? Operating system. For Nginx, why you are doing this operating system? Basically for Nginx, isn't it? Only for the purpose of Nginx. But what Docker is saying, if you only need Nginx, why you want that 4 GB operating system? Right? All you need is an web server. For configuring that web server, why are you going for a huge operating system? That's how Docker started actually. It wants to give you isolated environment where Nginx can run without any operating system. I mean, like internally there is an operating system which is very very small in size. Okay, till here, right? So basically, you are not going to have your very very huge operating systems here. Simply, you are going to only have very very lightweight operating systems. Got it? I mean, like concept is clear. Why we are using Docker? So now let's say if you want to set up Tomcat, right? What you need actually? Java, Tomcat, right? These 3 steps are needed, right? Now what he is saying is like, I will give you a ready-made container. I mean, like an image first, basically. That image would have Tomcat. I would give you an image which would have Nginx. I would give you an image where Jenkins is available. So don't go and set up an operating entire system for that because it is very small process. Why do you want to consume everything? That's what Docker is saying. So what is the advantage you get with that? Yes, less amount of memory, less size, less time, right? If you want to go for your 4.5, you need to download huge thing. You need to start, you need to go, lots of steps are required. But whereas if you are going with Docker, everything is ready-madely available for you, right? And one more important thing. So you need to understand Docker in this perspective actually. Now let's say you develop your application is ready with you, and your application was completely built on Linux CentOS. Okay, you completely built your application on CentOS. Let's imagine that's a Java based application, Java web based application which was built on Linux. Now you are going to give the demo to your clients, right? Now your client says he is having completely a Unix based environment, or let's say Windows based environment. Now what are you going to do in this scenario? Just think, like, what should you do? Anything is fine, just tell me. Windows. Then you'll install everything like that is required. Then you'll take your source code. Then you start running there, which is very bad practice, right? Now, let's say generally if you're going for client, you should be like instantaneously able to set up and see them the output. That's all they need, right? They don't need all these things. That is where Docker powerful comes. I mean, like Docker powerful features comes into the picture. Now, what you do is like you will build your own images in such a way that if you start that image, right, your application starts. Now I told you Docker will work on every operating system. What you'll do, either it is your Windows based machine, Unix based machine, or any Linux based machine. You will pull the image which is there in your web and you'll start it over there. And that particular image would have everything there for you, all the prerequisites like Java installed, Git installed, Maven installed, Tomcat installed, your application up and running. Making sense? We need to set it up such a way. So by default it is not there, but by default Nginx image is there, by default Tomcat image is there, by default Java image is there. Like that you are going to generate your project images automatically, right? Once you go and start that image, your application is up and running. You don't need to do configuration and everything again and again. One command, that's it. With one command your application is up and running straight away. Got it? That is the concept which we are going to implement it up actually. Ready-made containers which can be shippable. So Docker, right? Containers. So basically why we use containers? To ship something, right? Here we are shipping your applications, application data, application binaries required. All this we are going to ship. That is what your Docker is meant to do actually. Got it? Concept clear? Why we are using Docker? Right? That is the major advantages which we get when we are going with the Docker, right? So let's see how you can go and set up your Docker. Very simple, very easy as well, right? So you can simply go to something called like get.docker.com. Get.docker.com, simple. This will give you a script file. You see, you need to go and install the script basically and say run that script. That's it. It will take care of it. So actually, it is for your all operating systems, either for CentOS, Ubuntu. It is a script file basically. It is going and executing that script. It's supported for Linux. So basically, for Linux and Unix only it is supported. For your Windows and these kind of operating systems, right? It will internally create one more operating system, a Linux operating system. Then it will install on top of it. It is by default it is not supported to Windows. So you need to go and install something called like Docker for Windows, a separate package that will give you Docker in your Windows machines. Right? Currently we are completely going with Linux. We'll see the same particular scenario. Right? So what I'll do, let me go and spin up one machine first. So let's go and install one machine. Right? I'll create one machine here. So let's say something like Docker, something like 5 p.m. And I'll go with your CentOS image inside of HTTP traffic. So let me go and and I'll say vi dot ssh score rsc dot copy of this machine and I'll enter it up, right? So everything looks good. So minimum choose like 4 GB because you're going to create multiple containers, right? Your containers will use up the resources of your host operating system. Very important to remember as well. Because your Docker is directly running with the help of your operating system. Docker is nothing but internally it's a process again, which will run in your Linux, right? So I'll say CentOS, everything looks good. Okay, let's go and create the machine. So meanwhile, this machine is up. So generally Docker would be very, very helpful if you want to spin up your environments in dev and QA environments, right? Very, very easy. Within like span of seconds, your machines will be up and running if you are using Docker. Generally in production, they go with Chef, combination of Docker. They will go with multiple tools when it comes to the production grade. Right? Yeah. So let's say this machine is up, right? Let's go and try to connect to this machine. Yeah, my Docker 5 pm is get and ready. So I'll go to the same specific page and I'll say copy of the script and I'll say okay, right, it downloaded that file called script file and I'll simply run that script. I'll simply say shell and that script file, right? This would go and install automatically. You see, it's going and installing it up itself because they wrote script for that. Right. Right, it is installing your Docker Community Edition, open source version. So this is also one of your service again. You need to go and start up your Docker to start working with your containers. So here you need to again understand images will come across any infrastructure tool you take. Right. So once my Docker is installed, right, now I need to go and start that specific Docker, right? And before that, what it says, if you want to run the Docker as a non-root user, you should consider adding the user to the Docker group, right? It says you the hint. If you want to run your all the commands as a non-root user, you need to do the same thing. So I'll say just copy it up and right, I'm adding it to my Docker group. It has given me the int saying like add it to your Docker group. I'll add it up and once what it says after, remember that you will have to log out and get back in for this to take effect. So I'll do log out, right? I close my connection and I'm again logging in back. Right, now you need to go and start your Docker. Simply sudo systemctl start Docker, right? I'm starting the Docker. Yep, and I'll even enable the service as well. Right, and I enable the service as well. So I started up and I enable the service. Now once this is done, right, you will see Docker version. You see, it got both your client and server. So server is a particular thing which has your APIs, which will go and communicate with your particular image, right? So here, like I told you, right, Docker completely works on your concept of images, right? So what is the same concept in your Vagrant? Boxes. Where did you find those boxes? Something like Vagrant Cloud, right? You had that Vagrant Cloud, you all the boxes are hosted there. Similarly, in your Docker you got something called like Docker registry, right? Important terminology. The Docker registry is the place where all your Docker images are present. Docker registry, right? Now how you can go that? It is very simple. You just need to say hub.docker.com. This is where all your images are available. Any image you want, this is where you need to get it up, right? You see it says Docker Hub, dev and test pipeline automation, almost like 100,000 free apps, public and private registries. Public are open to everyone. Private is nothing but if you have your company's data and you want to keep it secreted, that is where you use private registries. Something like private repositories in your GitHub. The same concept as this. Right? Now, you can go and search this here. So basically, let's say you want to use something like, let's say you want to go and use something like CentOS image. Right? What I'll do? I'll go to search and I'll say CentOS image. You see, you have something called like official. Official, whenever you see official, that means it is an official package. If you don't see official, it's not an official package. Because you can build your own CentOS, I can build my own CentOS, you can build your own CentOS, right? But official is where you need to actually work on. Right? Let's say if you want something like Ubuntu. Yes, you have Ubuntu. Let's say you want something like Apache. You have your HTTP official. Right? Let's say you want something like Nginx. Yes, you have Nginx. Let's say you want something like Java. Yes, you have Java. Let's say you need something like what is it? Jenkins. Yes, you have Jenkins. Everything is already pre-configured, right? You don't need to do the configuration and again. That's what I'm trying to say. So if everything is already available, right? Building is very easy, isn't it? You don't need to go and do all these kind of setups. You don't need multiple machines, multiple operating systems, multiple virtual environments. Everything you can skip with the help of containerization. Right? Now let's say I want to go and use something like a CentOS image. Right? You see, if I click on this, it will give you the entire information how to use. So it says Docker 7 is what you should have, and it gives you like how this particular thing would work, right? The commands you need to use, right? It has given you all these things. So earlier, if you remember, you said Vagrant init CentOS/7, the name of the box. Here you will say Docker pull CentOS. Right? Got it? This is how you are going to get the information. Got it? Fine. Same like Vagrant init. Docker pull command. Right? Now what I'll do is like, now let's say I want to see what are the already available images with me. Right? You have a beautiful command called Docker info. Very important command. This particular command would give you entire information of your Docker system. Currently, how many containers are running, how many images are there, how much RAM, everything is being utilized, everything will be shown with the help of this particular command called Docker info. Right? Once I do this, you see what I am getting? Docker info. Yep. You see there currently 0 containers, 0 are running, 0 are like passed, stopped, there are 0 images. And if you see, right, your container ID version, your kernel version, your operating system is CentOS, the number of CPUs you are using is 1, your RAM is this much. Got it? Docker info would give you all this information. Right? Now you don't have any specific images with you, right? If you want image, you can do something like docker pull CentOS. Now if I say docker pull CentOS, right? Once I do this, you see what it says. It is trying to download that from your Docker Hub, Docker registry. Yep, it says downloaded the latest CentOS image. Now, if I go and run the same command again, docker info. Earlier it was 0 images, isn't it? Now, if I run the same particular command again, you see how many images I have right now? 1. Right? Now, you need to understand one basic thing here. Images and containers. Two different analogy. Right? So this is like very important thing to understand. So once you are clear with this, right, we can directly go ahead with the Docker right now. So you got two concepts. One is images, the second is containers. What are images? Images are basically your predefined classes, or let's say something like you have like any object oriented programming language idea. You have classes and objects, right? What is the purpose of class actually? Class is like blueprint, isn't it? It is a blueprint for creating objects. So basically what happens, objects will have the features of this class, isn't it? Right? Basically your images are like your classes. Right? Your images are like your classes. Your containers are going to be like objects. So whenever we are creating object, what is the meaning of creating an object? You are getting the features of that class. Right? So basically here, whenever you are creating a container, it means you are getting the features of that image. If your image is CentOS, right? If you are having one class, how many objects you can create? N, right? Many objects. Similarly, if you have one image, you can create multiple containers. Now you are having one CentOS image, but you can have multiple CentOS containers. Same like virtual machines. We are creating multiple virtual machines, isn't it? Something like Ubuntu, CentOS, Windows, right? Different. Here you are going to create something called like containers. Containers are very lightweight objects. They don't need huge processing and all these things. Right? Got the difference between containers? I mean like images. Images are like your classes, ready-made blueprints from which you will be creating your containers. So containers are going to have the features of your images. Your image is CentOS, your container will be a CentOS container. Got it clear till this point of time? Right. Now let's see how you can go and start your containers. Now I already have my CentOS image with me. Now let's see, I want to start the container called CentOS. See how fast your CentOS machine is going to be done. Now earlier, if you are working with Vagrant, how much time it took? At least like minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, right? You almost took like 2 or 3 minutes to get your machine up and running. Let's see how it works with the containers. So you can use a command called docker container to create your containers here, right? So I'll simply say docker, right? I can say something like directly run or docker container run, anything is fine. Docker run, what type of container you want to run, right? And before that we go with options -it, interactive terminal. Why? Because when you are creating this CentOS container, right, you need to log into that machine, isn't it? What you need for logging? You need some terminal, right? That's why we are giving docker run -it. So there is space here, docker run -it. Right? Interactive terminal. I want to get the terminal to that specific thing. And what is the image you want to use? Right? And what type of bash you want? I mean like terminal. Right? I'll simply say I want bash. Now what is this machine? Docker 5pm. This is my host operating system. Okay, this one. You see? So I'm currently under the Docker 5pm machine, isn't it? Once I run this container, right? I'll be directly jumped into the CentOS container. See, just I'll run this command. Where I am currently? I am not in root at the rate something like 5pm. I am into some other machine. Now that is my CentOS machine actually. Yes, you have your CentOS machine. Did it took lot of time? It was instant, right? Just after running the command, your container is up and running. If I say cat slash etc os release, same thing, right? But what is the size? Very, very light. So basically, let me open one more what do you say session for this, and I'll be logged in like the Ravi user. So this is my host machine, whereas this is my container currently, right? And here, if you see, right, how many, I mean like images, right? Let's say Docker images. If you give it, right, it will give you the list of images you are having. What is the size of CentOS? Ah, yeah, generally it was like around 4 gigabytes, but in here it was 197. Very lightweight. Why? Because it does not require kernel. It will use your host operating system kernel. Very important to remember. Right? And you see, every image would have a unique ID. Every image has some unique ID. Right? So you currently are in this specific thing. Right? And if I say ls, you see I have everything like what I do in my general CentOS based operating system. Making sense? Now if I exit from this, now how you can know like if your container is running or not? So you have a command called docker ps. You see, you have a container. This is image, this is container. Differentiate. So this is your images, but whereas these are your containers, right? And you have run this specific container. It was started around like 2 minutes ago, and it has something like a specific name. The name is randomly generated, right? And you see, you are currently running CentOS. Now, let's say I'll exit from this container. I'll say exit. Now I'm back into my host machine. Now if I say again docker ps, what happened? What happened to the container? It stopped. Right? So basically how your containers work is once you exit from them, they'll stop. Why? Because I started my container in the interactive mode. I have given that -it, isn't it? Interactive terminal. Right? That's why you directly went and logged into the machine. Once you exit off it, it stopped. That is what is the meaning of your IT, means interactive terminal. You also have one more mode called detached mode. I'll show you that. But let's say I'll show you some things. Now let's say I'll go and create one more container. Right? I'm going to run one more container right now. Right? And I logged into this container again. Right? So generally, when you say something like top command, what it generally gives you? Yeah, what are the process which are running, how much, all this information, right? What it says, there are like lots of things running in the backend, and there are like around 84 tasks, and all this is being done, right? Now, I'll do the same concept in my, this is not my operating system. What is this? Container. This is not my host operating system. And I'll say top. What are you getting? Is anything started here? No. Only two things are running. One is bash, which you mentioned, the top, which I mentioned. Why your containers are very, very lightweight and what do you say, very less size? Because of this reason. It is not like your traditional operating system. It does not need all this. Basically, it is getting all this information from your host operating system itself. Because your Docker engine is connected to your host operating system, it uses the kernel support provided by your host operating system. Right? So this is your traditional. It is like there are like so many things running here. But when you see here, you only have two services. That's the reason why your Docker is very fast and very lightweight. This is what is the reason. So if someone asks why your particular Docker is very lightweight, can you show it to? This is the best example. So if I run, right, I have got like only two particular services which are running. That too what I mentioned over there. Right? Now similarly for your process as well. Now if I say something like ps-ef, you see, only bash and ps-ef which I have given. But if I go and run here, lots of things running in the backend. Do I need all of those? No. That's what your containers are built on. That is what is the major factor why your containers are very lightweight, very easy to ship. Got it? Very important thing to understand in Docker. Alright? Now let's say what happens whenever I exit with this? It stops, right? Now if I say exit, it stopped. Now if I say Docker ps here, there are no running containers. But if you want to see the history, ps-a, Docker ps-a is going to give you the all the list of containers which has been run. You see? So one was started around 7 minutes ago, the other was started around 3 minutes ago, and both were exited. Right? Got it? Very important, this one as well. So this is how you can know the history of your containers. Now basically you got one more way of running your what do you say, Docker as well. So you have interactive mode, right? Similarly you have something called like detached mode, right? Basically here your operating systems are like, let's say your containers will be running in the background. So earlier it was running in the foreground mode when you say -it interactive, but when you say -dt detached mode, it means your containers will run in the backend. I mean like in your background. Now I'll say Docker container run CentOS, but not in the interactive mode. I will say run it in the detached mode. Now what this does is, this will start your container and it will put you in the background. This container will go in the background. Now once I do this, right, yeah, it says a container has been started with this ID. But did I log into the container straight away? No, right? I did not log into the container. The container is actually running in the backend. How we can get to know that? Docker ps. Yes, you started that container around 20 seconds ago. Now, how you are going to log into that container? right? You need to execute a command called docker execute. This will execute commands on the detached, I mean like whatever the containers which are there in the background. Execute any command. Let's say I want the bash right now, right? I'll say -it interactive bash. Right? If I want to get into the machine, I need a terminal, right? Shell. That's what I'm telling to go with that. Okay, it says you need to execute the options followed by container. Right? I have given the wrong syntax. So what I'll do is like, so I'll say execute -it docker execute. So I need to give my container ID. So what is the container which I started actually? If I go here, if I say docker not ps -a, I want to see only the running containers. So it says this is your container ID. Right? You can use this container ID. I'll say copy this. I'll say this one. I want to go into this container currently because this is a container which started in the backend. Every container you start, right, would have definitely a unique number, 100%. Right? Now you see, I am back into that particular container which is running. Making sense? How Docker is working actually? That's what, right? Interactive terminal. You want interactive terminal to talk to the doc container. That's the reason why you give -it. Now if you exit, right, it will not stop. Making sense? That's how this works. Because you started that in the detached mode. It will always be running until and unless you go and stop it manually. If you want to stop this container, right, you need to go with the stop command. Right? Fine, till here is it okay? I mean like how, what is the meaning of foreground and background? Right? Now if I do exit and if I say docker ps, yes, I still have that particular container running up. If I want to stop that container, right, I need to go and specifically stop it. I'll say docker container. So you got like lots of options here. You say rename, restart, pull, stop. So let's say I can directly give stop. So I'll say docker container stop and the container ID. So let's say docker ps. So this container I want to start. So I'll just copy up this container ID and I'll say docker container stop this particular container. Right? So once I do that, it takes some time and it will stop it up. Yep. It got and in images yeah, you need to understand. So images ki containers ki chala difference ఉంది. Images ni మీరు స్టార్ట్ చేయడం స్టాప్ చేయడం చేయలేరు. You can only download images. Docker image rm. Yes, you can remove the images, but you cannot start the images. Images are like your classes, right? You don't put any data in your class. What you do, you always give it through objects, right? So that's what you're doing with the containers. Only with the help of containers you are going to spin up the machines, do some work, destroy them, keep it away. Clear? Fine. I think like I'll stop it here today. It is like somewhat typical topic. So what I want you to do is like just give some reading on Docker. I mean like, did you get the background idea of Docker actually, why we are using Docker? Right? Basically, you want to ship your applications faster. If you want to ship your applications faster, you need to build up your environments faster. If you want to build your environments faster, you need faster operating systems which start in seconds. That is what Docker is providing you. Docker is providing you virtual environments which are very, very faster to spin up, which takes very less amount of time, which are easily shippable. Right? From tomorrow, we'll see like more of in-depth things in Docker. Docker would be very confusing if you don't understand initial classes. That is 100% sure. Till here, is it clear why we created images? We did not create images, basically. We downloaded the images. In our ending sessions, we will create our own images. Right? So from tomorrow, we'll go and basically what you'll say, we modify the containers. So you modified your VMs, right? In your Vagrant, you went and you changed your network, you modified your RAM, you changed your host names, isn't it? You can do the same thing with your containers as well. From tomorrow, we'll deep dive into the containers actually. Right? Because I think like most of you are like looking like it's completely new. So that's why I'm stopping it here. I don't want to continue further ahead. So just like today, try installing Docker. Just download some images. All you need to do is like, for initially just go with Ubuntu images or CentOS images. Tomorrow we'll start working with other images. Maybe not tomorrow, day after tomorrow I guess. We'll start with something like Nginx, CentOS, Jenkins, these kind of images. Right? Then at the end, I'll show you how easy it is to work with something like Node.js based application. So you don't have any Node.js based application knowledge, right? You already worked with Java, which was good. So in the Docker, I'll show you how you can work with your Node.js based applications as well, where you can implement two kinds of technologies. Right? So fine, I'll stop it today here because I know Docker is somewhat confusing. Not somewhat, it's very confusing.